many deals are you guys doing a month?
Last month we did 33. The month before that we did 41.
I have someone that has done hundreds of deals. He's going to teach you and I how to get better at sales, how to make more money. He's made millions and millions and millions of dollars in real estate. This year, they'll do about $4 million in revenue. How does someone make millions of dollars as a wholesaler?
If you're going to do it as a wholesaler, the first thing I'd recommend doing is
I feel like that's like the key to building a 7-figure wholesale business. Dakota Bailey.
Yes, sir.
Let's go, baby. Indiana.
Fort Wayne, Indiana. DakotaBailey.in. That stands for Indiana because Brian said to do it.
There we go.
Going to be the king of Indiana.
King of Indiana. He's got a freaking, he's like Reggie Miller. So let's get straight to it. How does someone make millions of dollars as a wholesaler?
So if you're going to do it as a wholesaler, the first thing I'd recommend doing is obviously bringing in an acquisitions guy. So you're going to have to get really good at marketing and sales. So I'd be bringing in an acquisitions guy first things first. That's what we did to really start scaling up the business because I think it's kind of difficult. Have you done $1 million by yourself, like just you?
I've done $1 million by myself with a TC. Actually, no, and I had 2 acquisition people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
like,
actually breaking $1 million, I needed 2 acquisitions.
Have you seen anybody do it with one guy, just them?
No, not really. No.
I'll say, because that's what I'm thinking is like, I don't think that I could do it just by myself. I think I could probably make, if I was going to be 100% solo where I'm doing the TC, the acquisitions, all that stuff, I bet I could make $500,000 to $750,000 a year. I'd be grinding. I'd be working a lot. I have to put out a lot of fires. But in my opinion, if you wanted to start making millions, you're going to have to bring on people. I always like to pay people on a commission structure because then it's not actually costing you anything and they get free training if they just end up not working out. So that's usually my advice for bringing on acquisitions people. Bring them on, 100% commission, train them really well, and then they're going to make a lot of money on the back end. So
yeah,
that would be the first thing that I would do is bring on an acquisitions person and set up your marketing, start setting up your systems. And then if you don't have anything like already set up marketing wise, then you could just have that acquisitions reaching out to agents. You could have them reaching out to people for sale by owner. You could have them doing that stuff while you get the marketing set up. But the first things first is you need to have a person who is 100% always going out there and looking for the deal, negotiating and trying to get that. That's where I would start.
Yeah, so we could break up this podcast into 3. It'll be acquisitions, marketing, and then operations.
Okay.
And then we can get into faith and all that other fun stuff. So what I always say, sales is the number one most important quality a person needs to have or understand that is needed.
Yeah.
So most people that fail in real estate fail because they rather suck at sales and they get stuck on the operations stuff. Like, do I got my LLC? Do I have my website? Is my CRM set up? Do I have the right numbers? Am I compliant in all these things? But they never go out and hunt for sales. And if you're that type of person, you have to realize that you're that type of person and go find an acquisition person.
Yep.
And then the next analogy I use, and then I want you to talk about, scaling your sales team is, let's say you're good at boxing, right? Let's say me and you box. Who's going to win?
I'll definitely win.
You'll definitely win. We're going to use this as an analogy for sales, right?
Okay.
You're better at boxing than me, and you're doing sales, and you're going to beat me, right? Now, let's say me and Ryan go up against you. Then who's going to win?
Probably you guys.
Yeah. Or let's just say you still might win because you're better at sales, right?
Right.
Analogy, better at boxing.
Yeah, it's less likely. The odds go down.
The odds go down. Now, what about me, Javi, and Ryan go up against you?
Very unlikely.
Very unlikely. It's the same with business.
Yeah.
If you're the only one producing sales in your company, you are going to lose to someone that knows how to build a team. It's just because guess what? There's going to be some days you don't work. There's going to be some days you're super busy with your operations. There's some days you don't feel like it. But when you have 3 to 4 other people always hitting the phones, they're going to win.
Yeah, and that's a good analogy. And then the other thing is that I always think about you're changing your skill set based on whatever scenario you're in. Whereas these people only have to focus on building their sales skills. Whereas you got to build your sales skills, then you got to figure out how the marketing's going. Then you got to get into your strategy mind and look at the data and, how's this performing? Then you got to go into your TC brain. and then start doing the transaction coordination. Like it's a lot of different modes that you have to turn into, and you're changing all of your emotional regulation based on whatever you need in that moment. Whereas if you're just focused on, I'm going to get really good at one thing being sales and acquisitions, which I think is the most important in my opinion. If you just get really good at that, that's all you have to focus on, locking up deals, and then it just moves on to the next person.
Yep.
And so, yeah, changing your mindset on where you're at all throughout the day is extremely difficult. And a lot of people are like, man, I'm really good multitasker, which I am, and you are too. It's still not as effective if you just had one role that you're going to do. It's always going to be more effective because just like you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. You're going to develop so many more skills that way.
Yeah. So, okay, so how does someone get good at acquisitions?
Okay, so first things first, man, acquisitions. Like, in my opinion, you got to practice it. You got to say this stuff out loud. If you guys are not in like anything to do with wealthy, I do the coaching calls on Wednesdays, and what I always teach them is we're going to say this stuff out loud. We're going to practice it. You have to say this stuff, and so that's going to be the first thing. Get a good script, start saying it out loud, start doing your at-bats, and start practicing this stuff. So that's step number one. Most people like think that they just hear me talk, and they're like, oh, you're just a natural, and like you've always been that way, and it's just not true. I've sold over 1,000 cars in my lifetime. We've probably done over 650 real estate transactions. And you have to think about all the ones that did not go through. I've had probably somewhere around 30,000 conversations in a sales scenario where like I developed these skills. And so I just practice the same thing over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing, is saying it out loud. So if you're not in like wealthy, I would recommend getting in that. That way you're going to get scripts. You're going to get like coaching from me, coaching from a lot of other people, because sales is also personality kind of thing. And it also comes from confidence. But that's the biggest thing, is like figure out your script, start practicing saying it out loud, and then start calling people.
Yeah. And if you're interested in coaching, we have a link in the description. You can fill it out and we will help you. But, okay, so first thing you said was practice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So another analogy, and some people get pissed when I talk a lot, but I don't care. It's my podcast.
Yep.
So when I first started in real estate, right, I remember I was watching Mike Ferry. Do you know who Mike Ferry is? He's like this old realtor trainer guy, right? So he talked about he's like, what's the difference between a professional and an amateur, right? So amateurs show up and just wing it. They practice during the game. That's when they're practicing. Professionals, they show up early. They show up prepared, right? Dress correctly, in the right mindset with the right tools. And then they practice what they're about to do in the game, right? I could use Bryson DeChambeau, any golfer, any professional sports player. They don't, if the game starts at 4, they don't show up at 3:59 out there, tucking in their shirt, like, all right, where's my club? All right, let's see. Oh, damn, I missed my first one. They don't do that.
Right.
Why? Because that first shot matters.
Yeah.
When you're on the phone with a lead that can make you from $5,000 to $100,000, why the F would you practice on that person?
Right.
So how do you practice? You learn scripts. You verbally say them out loud by yourself, memorizing them. And then you role play with other people. So how did you do that in the beginning of your career?
So I started off in car sales, and so that's where we did it. So we had to go through 3 months of training. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that all the way. One thing I do want to say about your analogy too, really quick, is that—
Hey guys, quick break from the podcast. First of all, thank you for listening to the Wealthy Investor Podcast. Also, I want you to know, in the description of this video, there is a link. If you want to do deals with me in Las Vegas, California, or anywhere in the country, go to the link in the description, fill out the information. If you fill that out, you'll get access to the deals that we're wholesaling. You can also fund a deal and partner with you, or I offer one-on-one coaching. So if you want me to help you get your first deal or help you scale your business, just go to the link of the description. Now let's get back to the podcast.
I heard the same thing about Kobe. So Kobe, did the same thing every single morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. He'd go in and he did the same basics every single motherfucking day. I remember hearing about it. A guy was just like, oh, I thought he'd go in and be doing all this fancy stuff. No, he did the basics. He did the absolute basics every single day. And so a lot of times I tell people, sales is repetitive. You're going to say the same things a lot. You're going to hear me say the same things a lot because you say the same thing a lot whenever you're with a client. So that is an analogy that I heard that just echoes what you said. The other part of it for actual practicing is I had to go through 90 days of training in car sales. I would not recommend that long because you're also not making money during that time. And so if you want to practice, I would say practice on cold calling because you have a really big script. You're going to be talking to a lot of people. You can practice while doing it on real people. I would have an idea about how that conversation is going to go though up front. Don't just go in there and just like, yeah, do you want to sell your house? No? Okay, have a good day. Like just get a script or something, watch some YouTube videos, get a general idea about where you want this framework to go, then talk to them. Like you don't just go in and just wing it every time and now you're going to learn on the fly. And I hear a lot of guys do that. They're like, I just am going to learn on the fly and I'm just going to say whatever first comes to my head. I'm like, that is it's not very repeatable. It's not very scalable because let's just say that it happens to go well and you get a deal. You don't know how you did it. You don't know what you said. You don't know anything because you didn't even have a framework of how the conversation went. You'd be like, oh, shoot, they said yes. What did I do? Oh, I don't really know. But if you actually build it out before you go and do it, you practice a couple times and then you start cold calling, I think that's a good way to practice. I would not just start paying for leads and then practicing on them because that's different. But if you're just cold calling people, I mean, it's not costing you anything and like you're not actually losing anything. Now there is money to be made there. So that's the coolest part is if you do it well, there's money there. But if not, you're learning the practice. And so it is kind of good to do it on cold leads, in my opinion. That's usually where I start people. Cold outreach, cold texting. And that way they're just like reaching out to people and they're learning while they're doing it. But yeah, on incoming leads, on paid stuff, you don't want to be practicing on those people. No. Like you paid $250, $300 for that lead. You don't really want to just like wing it on that one. So that's the difference. What I would say is if you're brand new, you need to start off doing the cold texting, cold calling, start practicing that way. You will have some practice on live people so you can see how the conversation is going to go. And then I only will give like incoming leads to people that have already done that and have been doing it for maybe 30, 60 days, or I role play with them and then I see how do they go through the script, how they're going to do it. Whenever they do that, that's when I'm going to give them the incoming leads that cost money because if not, I'm taking them. That's how we started off in the beginning.
Yeah. So why don't we give the listeners a script?
Yeah.
So in the description of this video, we'll give you guys access to get your script and hopefully you go get your first deal with it and then let us know if it worked. But, okay, so practice. What about tone or speed and how you talk and like what other tips can you give someone on like how to get good at sales?
Yeah, that's going to be developed over time, which is always interesting, but you can practice it. But like, I think everybody has different personalities in sales. You got some guys that just make jokes and they just laugh a lot. They get the client laughing and then it works for them. You got some guys that are just very logical, which sometimes works for different kind of people, especially engineers. Then you have the other people who are like charismatic. And so your tonality, the speed of which you talk is going to be very dependent on your personality because the most important thing, in my opinion, is you need to be authentic to who you are as a person because people can read through if you're not being real with them. If you're just being all salesy and customer servicey voice where you're just like in the high pitched tone the whole time, it's not going to work. It just doesn't work. People like can read through that and they're like, bro, this guy is just like trying to sell me something. So to me, believing what you're saying and being authentic and real is the most important thing, which you can do with the way that you speak and the speed of which you speak it. So that it's all important. So I guess a tip would be, usually it's by the questions that I ask, and Jeremy Lee Minor always taught the pauses. So like, you know, a question that I would ask is like, hey, are you looking for the highest price? Or are you looking more for like the simplest process? And then they say, let's just say they said, well, you know, I think I want you to know more the simplest process, you know, which would be cash as is, this, that. I'd be like, okay, and why do you feel that way though? And so it's going to be like the way that you're saying it almost acts in like a concerned tone into the point where now they feel comfortable enough to answer it. But yeah, I mean, speed and tonality and all of that stuff is going to be developed, again, based on the person and based on the person that you're talking to. And so I don't think there's a one size fits all. But there is some general rules and stuff that we kind of use. Like that'd be one of them. You can hear the tonality difference.
Do you talk? Because you talk hella fast. And
I slow
even
down.
like Andrew,
Yeah, he
your
talks
acquisition
really.
guy, like yesterday we were doing a We were listening to one of my guys go through a call, and you guys were like, "Duh-duh-duh-duh-duh-duh," and I was like, dude, I can't even understand what you guys are saying. You're like so fast. So do you slow down on the phone?
Very important. Very important to slow down. I tell him that all the time. I'm like, bro, you got to slow down, and you need to make sure that they have enough time. Like, you should not be going in right when they get done and then just going right after them, because the timing of which you talk after them is important too.
Yeah.
If you already know what you're going to say right after, that gives them that sales feeling.
Yeah.
Where you just, and then whenever people hear this whole sales training, they're like, oh, dang, that was a good close, because they're like, they hear it and they're like, that was good. Customers don't feel like that. Clients don't feel that way. They're not like, oh, dang, that was a good close. They feel like, oh, this person's trying to sell me.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is have it feel like a conversation where they're just telling you their concerns. You're leading them a certain way, which is in the way that they want. Or if you're putting guardrails on or kind of guiding them to the best solution, they're not even noticing that this is a salesperson. And so then you just have that slowed down tonality where, yeah, you definitely have to give them time to speak, to share their thoughts, and then you're going to speak a lot slower than what I usually talk. Because, yeah, I can talk fast, and my brain moves really fast. And that's the other part, too, that's difficult, is when you already know exactly what you're going to say because you practice it so many times, you sometimes say it really fast. So that's why it's important when you're practicing to say it exactly how you're going to say it whenever you're in the sales, call. So you have to practice it the same way, not just, yeah, hey, if we were able to offer you cash and close quickly, what's the lowest you'd be willing to accept on it? It's like, dang, that was really fast. And they'd be like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, if we were able to offer you cash and close quickly, like, what's the lowest you'd be willing to accept on it? I practice saying it that way. That way, whenever I go to say it, I know the tonality that I want. And you can do that in a mirror. You can record yourself.
Yeah.
But you want to practice the same tonality that you're going to use. That way, whenever you get in that mode, now you're having that conversation. Now, when we're talking to you guys and I'm on like a podcast or something, I'm like, yeah, I can just spout the stuff off. I can spout off all this different stuff, and we talk really fast. I also listen to podcasts at like 1.5 speed. That's why I'm like,
my God.
I'm like, bro, hurry up and freaking speed up that call, because and also I think when you've heard so many calls, it gets really easy to be like, I already know what you're gonna say, I already know what you're gonna object to, and then you almost want to like overcome the objection beforehand. That doesn't work either.
Yeah.
You have to go through the entire process, because it's not about what you know as the salesperson. It's about letting them know to themselves about what they're going through, and you're leading them through that process.
Let's go through. Can we role play through a sales call? We're gonna expedite it, and I'm not gonna like put in fluff. But can we do that?
Yep.
All right. Let's say I'm gonna give you all the numbers up front. So I'm a inbound lead, rather Facebook or PPC.
Okay.
You need to get the house for 100.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I need 120, and ARV is 200. Okay. So I filled out the form. You have the address, everything. All right. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello.
Hey, is this Brian?
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, this is Dakota. I saw that you filled out a form on our website that said you were interested in selling your property on 123 Main Street. Are you still interested in selling that one?
Yeah. I'm trying to sell that house right now. It's ready to be sold. How much are you gonna offer me?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we can definitely get into that. How much were you thinking you were wanting for it?
Well, I mean, I kind of wanted you guys to make me an offer.
100%. Well, we'll definitely get you an offer. Can you tell me a little bit about the condition of it?
Oh, well, it's a beautiful house. I've owned it since the 60s.
Wow.
It's just really beautiful. There's like this oven that's like my wife, she painted it, and it's purple. It's beautiful.
Wow. Okay. Does it need any repairs or anything that needs to be fixed up on it all?
No, I think it's good. I think it works. Everything works.
That's awesome. Okay. And then you said you've owned it since the 60s. That's a long time. So that's what, 84 years now?
Yeah. I bought it when I was like 5.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome, man. So it's been in the family for a while, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And so have you updated anything since you've lived there?
No.
And everything still works?
Everything's good. I mean, one of the light switches don't work in one of the rooms, but besides that, I think everything's good. It's just it's been in the family. We had some tenants in there, and they moved out, so we're just ready to get rid of it.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's vacant now is what you're saying?
It's vacant, yep.
Gotcha. How long has it been vacant for?
It's been vacant for about 2 weeks now.
2 weeks. Gotcha. Okay. And then all the utilities and all are on and everything?
They're not on. We turned them off.
Got it. Okay. And then, what kind of timeline are you looking at for, wanting to sell this thing?
We want to sell it as soon as possible. So it's October. We want to sell it by November so we could use those monies for some vacations.
Nice. Where you want to go?
I'm trying to go to where Kamala Harris is from, Egypt, I'm pretty sure.
Egypt? Okay. That's awesome, man. Egypt specifically. That's pretty cool. Do you have family over there?
Nope. Just trying to see her motherland.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. Are you
This
looking?
is a joke, by the way. Please don't get, don't get triggered. It's a joke. But
So are you looking to get the highest price? You looking more for the simplest process?
also, I don't want to pause the role play, but that's like one of your big important questions, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So ask it again.
Are you looking for the highest price or the simplest process?
Well, we just want to sell it fast because we're trying to get out of here. So we don't want to work with no stupid realtor, no damn Remax,
Okay.
So what are you going to offer me?
Sure. Yeah, I would say, like, in order to get the highest price, usually you do have to go through a little bit more of that stuff that sounds like you don't necessarily want to do. With going the simplest process, it's going to be cash as is. You can take or leave whatever you want, and you don't have to do any repairs, clean up, clean out, anything like that. And we're going to cover all the closing costs. I mean, out of those two options, again, which one sounds more like what you're looking for?
The second one is just take all the stuff that's in there and close cash.
Yeah. Okay. And then why do you feel that way?
Well, I don't want to list with no stupid realtor because there's this lady that's always sending me mailers, and I'm always calling her, telling her to stop.
Yep.
But yeah, we're just trying to go to Egypt and just hang out. So what are you gonna offer me?
Yeah. Sounds like that's important to you getting to Egypt then, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I mean, this is not our offer or anything like that, but it looks like other investors are offering somewhere around 50 to 55. Again, that's not our offer.
Dang.
But if another investor were to offer you that, I mean, what would you say?
I'd tell him to go to hell and just go kick rocks with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris because I ain't dealing with none of that crap.
Right. Sure. No, I'm with you. And a lot of times we're able to offer a little bit more than other investors.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much would you accept for an offer like that then? Like, what would be the lowest that would make sense?
We're trying to get like 120 because we know there's a house that sold around the same street for 150. We're not going to work with a realtor, so we know, saving a little money there.
Yep.
So that's what we're trying to get.
Got it. Okay. And so if you're able to get that amount, would you care who ends up buying it then?
Do I care? I don't care who buys it.
Okay.
Kamala Harris could buy this house. I don't care.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, so, and then the timeline, I mean, would you be willing to wait to go to Egypt for maybe like another 60 to 90 days? Or is that timeline pretty important to you to close fast and let's get you to Egypt?
Yeah. So what you're doing right now, to break the role play real quick, you're pitching a novation pretty much. You're saying like, hey, if you wait a little bit longer, you can get more, but you guys are gonna have to novate it.
I'm always gonna test it. Yeah. Again.
Okay, so in this scenario, I'm going to say no. No, we're trying to move. We saw your ad say you can close in 2 weeks, so
Yep.
yeah, that's what we want.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. I would say a lot of times, I'm able to give a little bit more. It just depends on exactly what the person's trying to accomplish. So if you could wait a little bit longer, I could probably get you, maybe closer to that 120 area. But realistically, again, it looks like other cash buyers are doing a whole lot less than that. So what would be the lowest that would make sense for you in order to get you going to Egypt in the next couple weeks?
Got it. And then again, to break the role play, I gave an offer, and then you're asking me again if to go lower instead of just spitting out a lower offer.
100%.
So, well, I mean, I could ask my wife, maybe 110.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think at the end of the day, if we bought it at 110, cash as is, and we close in a couple weeks, from the numbers I'm seeing, is a good potential we could lose money on it. And I'm just going based on the repairs that you gave me over the phone. I'm giving some guesstimations and stuff. So realistically, like I said, other investors are somewhere around 55 to 60. I know that's not going to work for you, but how close to that do you think you could come and we can get this thing done?
Oh, dang. I mean, I don't know, man. What are you going to offer me? I don't know.
I mean, realistically, when I'm putting all the numbers in the calculator, it's coming out to closer to the 80 number. And that's just in order for me to make our minimum profit. Usually, obviously, our goal is to make as much profit as we possibly can. But we also still want to make sure that you're still happy with the scenario too. And so we want to get you going to Egypt. So, I mean, if I can get you 80, can we go ahead and move this thing forward today?
No, I can't do 80.
Okay. I mean, what can you do then? That way you can move in 2 weeks. Because like I said, I can get you more money. You just have to wait a little bit longer. And so is it worth waiting a little bit longer to get you more money? Or would you want to get in Egypt in 2 weeks and see Kamala Harris out there?
We'll do 105.
I'm telling you. So here's what I'll say. If I could do 105 and still make money, I'd shake your hand right now and be like, all right, let's get this thing done. Virtually.
Yeah.
Virtually shake your hand
Yeah.
and we get this thing done. But realistically, like if I buy it for 105, I have a very high chance I'm going to lose money. So I can't do 105. I mean, can you work with me a little bit if I'm able to, like, you know, maybe I talk to my manager and I can get him to come up to like 90? Would you be open to anything like that?
I think go ask your manager if you could do 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I could do 100, you'd be ready to go right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm honestly, that's
Well, I got to ask my wife.
sure. Okay. Well, how about this then? You go ask your wife real quick and make sure, because I don't want to come to my manager and then he gets upset with me because it's already looking like it's over our max allowable offer. And so I don't want to come to him and be like, hey, yes, you can do 100. And then your wife says no. So why don't you talk to her real quick? I'll put you on a real brief hold and then you go talk to her.
Okay.
All right. Hey, I'm back. What'd she say?
She said okay.
She said
But you
100.
got to take it as is.
Okay. Well, let me do this then. Let me put you on a really brief hold, talk to my manager and see what I can do. Because again, this is looking like it's going to be a stretch for us, but I just want to be sure if I can do 100, you're ready to go right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go see what he says. And then I probably come back. Hey man, I'm not going to lose your business over a couple $1,000s, am I?
No.
Okay. So I talked to my manager. And if we can do 95, can we go ahead and get this thing wrapped up? We're covering all the closing costs, because at the end of the day, after we do all this stuff, you know, we're going to buy it. We're going to pay all the closing costs. We're going to be all in for right around that 100. So can we do 95 and just go ahead and get this thing done? Let's get you to Egypt.
No, I gotta get 100. We put too much money into it over the years.
Well, you said you didn't put that much money into it.
Yeah, but we put new rain gutters. I put a new microwave.
It's
Some other guy offered me more, but then he didn't call me back. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of other people out there that you know, will say that they're going to offer you certain things and they don't actually have the money. We're ready to close this thing in 2 weeks and get you your money, move on. We're not going to let $5,000 hold you back from going to Egypt, are we?
no.
Okay, let's just go ahead and get this thing done then. I'm gonna. What's your email address?
Brian, KamalaHarrisCampaign.com.
Perfect.
So you go that hard on price.
Oh, 100%. We
Yeah.
negotiate for every single one. Now, again, what I was going to do there is if you said no, but like I knew you were going to say that. And so I got the 100 approved. Let's go ahead and move forward. Now, it is a risk in a small sense, especially if there's a wife in that situation, I might not, because then he's usually got to go back and talk to the wife again. So in that scenario, I might not negotiate that hard, but I usually still trial. And I would say that works about 90% of the time.
Yeah, I think so. There's so many gems. So let's break it down. So one gem that I know happens in this industry a lot is if they need to be at 100, they rather offer 100, right? Or they offer like close. You
Never.
super lowball anchor them.
100%.
And then the problem right now that most wholesalers are having in this industry is they will lock it up for 110 and like, oh, well, I might blast it out and see what happens. And then it doesn't sell. And then they just wasted 2 weeks of their time and the seller's time when they knew damn well they needed to be below 100.
In that scenario, so let's go through that scenario too. This is the same thing I was telling Justin yesterday.
Justin's my acquisition guy.
Yeah, so I would if 100 is iffy. You told me 100 is good, so I knew okay, all right, 100 is good. If you would not go below and you just kept pushing me and said no, I can't go below 110, and I asked like 7 or 8 times, I'd say, hey, look, why don't we do this then? Give me 2 weeks. I'll send my partners out there. Honestly, at 110, I don't think that I'm going to be able to make money, but let me see what I can do, and I'll see if I can find somebody to partner up with me. Maybe I can partner up with a contractor. He can save me some money on the rehab based on what I'm thinking. So if you give me 2 weeks, let's go ahead and move forward. Does that sound fair? 90% of the time, they're going to say yes. But now you set the expectation that there's another partner coming in. So now you can come back and renegotiate and say, hey, man, remember when I told you like I was going to try to do this and like I thought 110 was too high. Well, I was right. Here's where we came in at. Now you have your buy price and you go here. Now, the only way I'm doing 100, and this is me acting as a flipper buyer, not as a wholesaler. If you're a wholesaler, I recommend having an out every single time, because the worst thing, in my opinion, you could do is me have that conversation where this person thinking they're going to Egypt. I lock it up, and then they don't know that I don't have the money. I go to sell it. Nobody wants to buy it. And then now this person's all prepared to go, and then they can't do it. And you got to have the conversation. Hey, sorry, you're not going to Egypt. That to me is not integrity, and I think it's bullcrap. So in that scenario, if you don't have the money to close it and you're a wholesaler, I would throw in the contingency. And same thing that I just did with the 110 number. I'd say, hey, look, my numbers really say I need to be at 80 in order to make this work. And if they keep pushing me up to 100, I'd call them back. Hey, man, I talked to my manager. I think that we can make 100 work. It's just going to be subject to us walking through and having our partners approve this. Because, again, I'm just going based on the information you told me over the phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send them through, get some quotes, and just make sure that we can do that. That way we can all get what we want. And then, so then I'm going to send them over the agreement there. But now I set the expectation that, hey, I'm sending people in. I have a way out. Now it's like if I have to have that conversation, you set the proper expectations. The only reason I'm saying that is because I'm going to close on our deals, because if we tell somebody we're going to do something, we're going to do it. So that's the only differentiator I want to make there for wholesaler versus like an actual person flipper.
Yeah. The key line that you always like to say is, do you want the best price or the easiest process?
Yeah, you want the highest price or the simplest process.
Okay, the highest price or the simplest process. And then let them choose. If they say highest price, you're going to probably pitch them a novation price, something that you could list on the market and novate.
Yep.
If they want the easiest convenience, you're going to pitch them a cash offer.
Yep. And then if they really want retail and their house needs nothing, you could push them to an agent if you can't novate it. So if you can't novate it, go to an agent, see if you can get a referral. And we've done that before too. Yeah. So that's only if they actually want the highest price. Most of the time, you know what people say when you say, hey, I want the highest price, or do you want the highest price or the simplest process? They say, I want both. Well, that's still a novation.
Yeah. And then I guess for the highlight reel, like how many deals are you guys doing a month?
So last month we did 33. The month before that we did 41.
Okay, so you're averaging between 30 and 40 deals a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
crazy.
If you're listening to this, this works. This is not a theory or any of this crap.
No, yeah. I think, honestly, in my opinion, I think we have some of the best acquisitions guys in the game. Like when I hear I take all of their scripts that I hear these other people, and then I just add it in ours. So like the only person that I've seen, in my opinion, now that can close better than us is Eric Klein.
Ooh.
When I hear him.
You know what? Hold on, Dakota. There's a huge, division that's happening right now in the real estate industry. I don't know if you're aware of, right? There's two camps, right? There's the Pineda, RJ Bates, 15-minute close. Yep. How long are your calls?
Probably about 15.
Okay, so I'm going to put you in that bucket. There's the RJ Bates, Ryan Pineda's, I'll say Brian Davila too, Dakota's, and then there's the Eric Klein's, Tiffany and Josh High, and that's about it. I think there's like other people that they think they should be on the calls for 45 minutes and up in order to make sure they get a contract.
Really?
So where do you stand on this?
Yeah, so I would say for me, you're not asking good enough questions. Now, the funniest part is I think with RJ Bates, when I heard him, I'm like, bro, he definitely disqualifies too fast. He's pretty brash and he's pretty to the point. I think that works for like the Closers Olympics because you have a short amount of time where you're just like, dude, I got 20, 30 minutes and I got to find out, get somebody right now. But that's not realistic either.
Ooh.
What I think you need to do is like my goal in every call is going to be...
RJ Bates be taking some shots on this podcast.
Dude, I mean, he's a beast. Dude, I think he's a great closer. I think he's a beast. I'm just saying that like I think he misses out on deals because of the way that he frames a question and speeds through them.
Yeah.
Now, he gets more deals because he goes through them too though. And so that's the interesting thing is like it's a balance of cold calling but then not wasting your time. He's very good at not wasting time either. I have intuition to where I'm not going to waste time, but I'm also not going to waste a lead. So my goal is to get them to the furthest step that I can get to. In my sales process, there's 5 steps. And so I'm going to try to get them to the closest one or the furthest one that I possibly can. And if I can't do it, I'm going to set them on a drip or set a notification for me when I'm going to follow up with them. But I'm still going to ask in order to see how far I can get them in the sales process. He's more like, are you closing right now or not? If not, he's off the phone. So anyway, our average call is going to be around that 15-minute mark. That's pretty normal. If you're leading and guiding a conversation, I mean, how long did that role play just take right there?
How long was that, Brianna?
Probably 10 minutes. Yeah. So that was probably 10 minutes. Most of the time they go a little longer because I'll build more rapport. Yeah. I'm going to make jokes, but I still built a little bit of rapport where like that person in that scenario is still like, oh, dang, this guy's kind of funny. Like I kind of like him, you know, but usually I'll build probably about 3 more minutes of rapport. It does not take very long when people just feel close to you. Now, you have different people who want to talk and like continue to say things that don't matter. Like you started going on about that stove. If you kept going on about the stove, like, yeah, the stove and she painted this and this and that, and like you kept going, I'd be like, oh, like I would interrupt you while going on something that makes sense and where you don't feel
back on track.
Yeah, but you don't feel like disrespected either. So that's about timing and finding out how to do it. Or you'd be like, hey, speaking of the stove, is there anything that needs repaired? And then you're just like, you're redirecting the conversation. So in my opinion, those are unskilled salespeople that stay on the phone call for 45 minutes. It does not take 45 minutes. Now, here's the other side of it. I've been to where I had to close a deal and it took me 2 hours to close deals before because like they have other stuff that they really do have to work through. And so I'm willing to stay. I think the differentiator is going to be if you actually have a deal or not. And most people stay on it when they don't even have a deal. They're just sitting there, how's your day going? Oh yeah, my day's going really well too. And like, they're just sitting there having conversations about nothing. And they think that they're building rapport. And they're like, man, that person really liked me. I think I'm going to get that deal tomorrow. They really liked me. Yeah. And then they sell it to somebody else. And like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they did that. I thought we had such a good relationship. I'm like, no, you didn't know how to close. And so that's the difference is like, I think that the people who take that long are not good closers. Now, I mean, Eric Klein, I'm telling you, I've listened to his stuff. Like he's a closer. He's a very good closer.
I want to go over your 5-step process you said you have.
Oh, snap. All right.
Do you have any notes?
Yeah, I better pull it up real quick.
There we go.
Yes, sir.
While he's pulling this up, guys, listen. If you haven't subscribed to the #1 podcast for flippers, wholesalers, and entrepreneurs, then what are you doing? Take a moment and subscribe. It's good for you. It's good for your family. I don't care if you vote for Trump. I don't care if you vote for Kamala Harris. Just subscribe.
All right, 5-step process. So step number 1 is going to be the intro or qualifying the lead. So that's just introducing yourself. Hey, you do want to sell this property, right? You always want to get affirmation they want to sell up front. Then step number 2 is going to be finding out about the property situation, the rapport building. That's where 80% of the phone call is going to be. Step number 3 is usually finding out about the pricing. Step number 4 is signing a virtual contract or setting an appointment, depending on what what you do. And then the last one is just giving the next steps. So yeah, that's basically it.
Nice. So I use the closer framework. Have you heard of it?
I feel like I have, but
Yeah. So it goes clarity. So first step, you're trying to clarify, why is this lead on the phone? We use this for education too.
Okay.
So why are they on the phone? Who are they? What are they looking for? Make sure we're on the same page, right? Yep. Next is label. So you're trying to figure out what is the problem. What are they trying to do? Okay, they're trying to sell fast. Why? Overview. So make sure you're on the same page on what you're trying to label them, because sometimes we will label something incorrect. We're like, oh, okay, so you're trying to sell, you're in a hurry, and they're like, no, I just said like,
I want the highest price.
I want the highest price.
Yeah.
So overviewing, making sure that you're on the same page, and then selling. So that's when you're pitching. In this situation, it would be like price, kind of going into price. E is explain, because usually 95% of the time you're going to get some sort of objection.
Sure.
So if it's in the framework, then you already know this is what's going to come.
Yeah.
So that way you're not thrown off when they're like, I didn't think about it. You're like, oh, damn, no one said this. 99% of the time, the lead is going to give you some sort of objection or some pushback. So just be prepared. And then the last is just reinforce. So you came to a conclusion, you handle objections. Okay, we're good at 100. Perfect. You're making the right decision. These are the next steps. you're going to get an email. My assistant's going to call you, or XYZ. It always, breaks my heart when I find out that wholesalers, flippers, even us sometimes lose a sale after we already had the sale. They were supposed to get a call from escrow. Escrow never called. Then they went and signed with someone else. We were supposed to call them back. They thought we weren't serious, and they went with a different wholesaler. Like, you don't want to lose deals just from poor communication. So just reinforcing, hey, Dakota, the next steps are you're going to sign this agreement. After you sign it, I'm going to send it to escrow. Then we're going to have showings. When can we do the showings? Like, start setting up the next steps.
Yeah.
So that way they're committed to the sale they just made.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about that really quick is just going to be the signing with somebody else after you sign. We do different things in order to make sure that does not able to happen. So like we will sign a memorandum of contract on every single one, which is going to pop up on title.
You could do that, but they could still go sign in the meantime.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So yeah, you can prevent them going with someone else.
Yeah.
But you don't even want to get.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you don't even want to get there, because
Right.
I've seen it with big operations. When they start getting a bunch of contracts, then their TC or fulfillment team is not like following up, and then these sellers just ghost them or sign with someone else.
For us, yeah, it's all about the experience. And so then, like, if their experience is bad, then that's the worst thing, because we didn't do what we said we're gonna do. But yeah, I mean, I like that framework. For me, it's harder to flow with, but I think that
I mean, it's probably the same exact thing you're doing, just like
restructuring the name.
No, because clarity is like you're doing that. Like, hey, do you want to sell?
Yep.
Label is, okay, you want to sell. Why? What's the condition? Okay, is it in bad condition? Is it probate? Is it foreclosure? Overviewing, making sure, like, okay, just to make sure this is everything. Is there anything else? Okay, let's talk about price, where you need to be. And then objection, explaining is usually like, okay, price, we need to come down. We can't do 100. We need to do 80. Blah 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 blah. And then you're probably doing some sort of, you're already kind of reinforcing it, because you said, like, hey, just so you know, we need to be at 100. We're going to do 110, but next steps are for 2 weeks, we're going to send someone out there, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
But anyways, but, okay. So let's talk about scaling a sales team, because that's kind of where we started. And I feel like that's like the key to building a 7-figure wholesale business is that's for the highlight reel.
Oh, okay. I was like, am I supposed to talk now? I'm like, dang.
Well, I think it is building a sales team.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be a solopreneur where it's everything rides and dies on your shoulders.
100%.
So when did you start building a sales team? And talk to me about that process.
So Andrew was one of our first hires, and so he was the first one, and
remember, no one knows who Andrew is.
Yeah, so Andrew's one of our, he's an acquisitions guy who's been with us since he was in high school. So Andrew was 18 at the time, and we just went to a self-development seminar that Tony and I put on, my business partner and I. We put on a self-development seminar, met Andrew, came to Ryan Pineda's event, and he's like, you know what, you guys, if you really want to start scaling, you have to hire people. I'm like, you know what, let's hire salespeople.
Let's hire this guy.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, exactly. I was like, we should hire a salesperson. And then I also watched Undercover Billionaire with Grant Cardone, and then I saw him hiring different people, and like that's the first thing he did in order to build a multi-million-dollar business. It's like, okay, seems like we need people, because I used to be that person who thought I could do it all myself, and I'm like, I'm got this skill set and I'm really good at all this stuff, which I can do it all, but it's not scalable. And so I was like, all right, we need an acquisitions guy. Let me call this one kid that I did this exercise with at this self-development seminar. Had no idea what it was going to turn into, and he was just hungry. And so he was in high school, like in school till about 11 a.m., 12 midday, come in and cold call up until like 5, 6, 7, 8. Like I was there a lot late. And so he was there with me just calling. And then he just shadowed me the whole time. He shadowed me for like 3-4 months. He was going on appointments with me. He saw me close. He heard the way I talked. Like if you hear Andrew, like, I mean, you know him now.
Yeah.
He sounds like 90% the same as me. The way he talks, the way he says.
He says frickin'.
Yeah. Just like in a sales conversation, he sounds even more like me because it's a script that I wrote. And so then he's saying the same exact things as I would say. Sometimes the timing of which he says them is a little different, and he's a little faster pace than I am. And I think that I build a little bit more rapport, but he's 90% the same.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how it all started. Honestly, the way that we found the second guy was the guy who just kept coming to me and he wanted to partner up. He had a deal. His name's Luis, by the way. So he came into the company he had a deal. He had it locked up for, I think he said 90. And then he's like, I think I can sell it for 100. I'm like, bro, let me go on the appointment with you. I go to the appointment. I get it locked up for 80, and then we sold it for 110. So he was going to make 10. Now he's making 15 because he got me involved. But also he got to learn how to do that, how to close and all that stuff. And so he kept bringing me deals that I just kept negotiating and closing for him. And then he was learning like that. He also, that company, there's a wholesale company, they're renting office space similar like this. They're renting office space from us, and they just kept wanting to partner up on deals. So then they started hearing the way we close. Then Andrew became good friends with them. He's like, bro, you got to come on our team. You got to come on our team. You got to come on our team. So Andrew was actually recruiting Luis more than I was. And then one day Luis just came in the office like, hey, dude, I want to work for you. And I'm like, dude, you work for the other company. And are you ready to go right now? He's like, oh, let me think about it. I'm like, dude, don't come into my office again unless you're ready to go. I'm like, if you're doing it, you're going all in, because he's kind of wishy-washy. So anyway, so I was like, bro, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it.
Funny.
And so I like set a boundary. And so anyway, that's how we got him.
Yeah.
And he's been a beast too.
Yeah.
From there, honestly, like when we started posting and stuff and people saw how many deals were closing, and like people knew me from car sales too, because I did pretty well at that. And there's different plaques and photos of me in the dealership. And so then they're like, oh, dang, like people wanted to work through us through that. So that's helped a lot for recognition, and then people reaching out wanting to learn how to do this. So then usually I just put them through the cold calling process. And then from there, if they start to do well, because we've ran through people that didn't work out, and it's like, nah, you don't got it. And it just is what it is. There's car sales guys that can't sell. They just, it's a different thing when you're reaching out to someone as opposed to them coming in for a brand that they already like, want, and everything. You can develop a lot of skills in car sales, but just because you're in car sales doesn't mean you're good.
Do you think Andy Elliott's sales training works for real estate?
I think Andy Elliott doesn't even do sales training anymore. Bro, every time I'm like logging in, I'm like, dude, I want to learn something new from Andy Elliott. I'm like, because I listen to all these different guys and I love to do sales training. And then I listen to his, I'm like, it's like literally tactics on how to sell. And then I did not hear one tactic. I got real motivated though, dude. I was like, all right.
On his YouTube, or you signed up for his stuff?
No, YouTube. Yeah. No, I've never signed up for his stuff. So maybe he does give you tactics there. I can tell that he was a salesperson, but he's the power close, which is, again, that's going to work. And I think that worked like more back in the day a little bit more. I think it's harder to do now. And I think that, I think he's just more of like a leadership guy more than anything. He's actually tried to close me on coaching with him.
Oh, really?
It was $100,000. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it, but it was $100,000 and it was $2,000 a month.
Damn.
And then I was like,
so you pay $100 and $2K?
Correct.
Oh my gosh.
And you
spoke to him directly?
Yeah, because the Macklin twins, dude, they're cool dudes. I freaking love all of them.
I like them too.
Yeah, like I like the Macklin twins. I like Andy, dude. I like what he stands for. I like what he preaches. I like the way that his energy. We went to his office, dude, and like for me, it's like we're gonna go spread more love, more respect, more of like that energy for other people because we saw him. So I freaking mean no disrespect from it.
No, I love him too. I have a lot of respect for Andy Elliott. And like before, honestly, I used to be like, I don't really like this. And then what changed it for me was he did a podcast with Bradley Martin. Mm-hmm. And during that podcast, he said something. He was like, you know what the God of this generation is? Comfort. And I was like, damn, like that's so true. Like even for myself, I just want to be comfortable. I just want to, like, instead of chasing comfort, like I should be, chasing, I don't even know, greatness, purpose, all these other things. So that he said that line in that podcast, and that was the first time he's ever said anything that I've heard that I was like, ooh, that was good. Yeah. And then he had a couple other like liners in there. And then he spoke at WealthCon right after that. And I actually did a podcast with him like a while ago, and I was so tired that I ended the podcast. than 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, I was so tired, bro, because it was like WealthCon is like a 4-day thing. And I was just so tired, bro. And he was just going off. I just couldn't handle it. So I was like, all right, that was it. Great. And, but anyways, his wife, I've had his wife on the podcast too. She's a freaking beast. Wow. I've talked to those twins. They're freaking awesome. So yeah. Even, I was just curious on your opinion on that. I don't want to talk crap about Andy Elliott.
No, so what I want to finish what I was saying though. So basically, they were selling me on that, and then I was like, okay, what is it? This, that, and for me, it was like it's very similar, honestly, to what you guys have with Ryan. And I'm like, bro, I feel like I have that, and like, do I think that Andy could help me? Yes, but how much time does he actually have? How much attention am I gonna get? And it's funny because I tried closing him because I was like $100K and $2,000 a month. Okay, I'm like, I will do that if you're gonna come speak on our stage once a year. I'll do it. And I held out my hand, I'm like, let's go. And then he's like, see, you're trying to make it transactional and stuff, and I'm trying to build a relationship. I'm like, I don't think that's what we're doing here.
You did this in person?
Yeah, he was there in the office, and then like I was there talking to I think it was Evan. But anyway, I was like in his office, and then Andy came in, and then he was like trying to close me, like, dude, you want to be part of it? I'm like, it's that same close, it's the same energy that he always used, which I like it. But also, I think that it's not the most effective for everybody. It's more of like it's a one-trick pony. Whereas like somebody like, in my opinion, Jeremy Lee Minor, bro.
Why do you say Lee? It's so funny.
Jeremy Minor.
Yeah. He's number
That is so true. I didn't even realize I do that. Jeremy Lee Minor. Because, you know, there's a lot of Jeremy Minors out there. James.
I'm sorry. Dakota James Bailey.
Dude, that sounds so much better. Actually. That makes it sound like, dang, that boy's big time. But anyway, he is effective no matter what the personality type is, which is the difference. Whereas Andy, I think, is going to be effective for like 75% of people. I feel like Jeremy's is like 95%.
I also think it depends on the sale because, like, I think Andy's. So I wish I could mix a salesperson with Andy Elliott's mindset and work ethic, and then Jeremy Minor's sales skills and thought process.
Right.
Because the problem with Jeremy Minor's people is like they want to go do high ticket closings, and if they don't get the best leads, they're not going to go out there and grind. They're like, they're more trappers.
Sure.
They're going to sit back and wait for the right person and try to get them. Where Andy's going to go out there and bang the doors and talk to the people, go shake the hand, you know, make the relationship. Where Jeremy Minor's more like, well, you know, why do you feel like that?
Yep.
And
that's exactly what I'm trying to create. Is exactly what you said. In myself, that's exactly what I want to be. Is I want to be both because I have both sides of me. That's the interesting thing is we all have different sides of us. It's just like how much of each one. But yeah, I want to be exactly that, and that's what we're trying to recreate. Is both. That's exactly what you're saying. Like, and I think we are, honestly. I think we're creating both because we have the skill set and we have a bunch of killers in our office who like definitely want to dominate and do well. And I always like the guys that are more like Andy, honestly, because then you have to reel them back. It's harder to push people forward than it is to be like, okay, bro, we gotta
chill
bring,
out.
Bring it down a little bit. Slow down. I like that more than like, hey, bro, we need you on the freaking phones because like if you don't have the desire, for me, it's harder to train that. And so I would rather have an Andy Elliott than I would somebody who's just like, oh, let me just wait for the right opportunity and like I'm gonna use my skills. It's like, no, dude, go create the opportunity and develop your skills.
Yeah. So with Wealthy Investor, we've sold, bro, $25 million worth of coaching or more.
Wow.
Our best stuff that has worked was Jeremy Minor stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like by far.
Yeah.
Like our best closers were straight, but they took Jeremy Minor stuff and they made it their own.
Yes.
But they were very like, okay, so like, why do you feel like that?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you, okay, well, if this happens, if you don't get this, then what happens?
Yep.
Like, oh man, like how would that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
Like Andy Elliott's that's not his thing.
No.
He's like, if I could do this, this, and this, do we have a deal? Like he's more like,
exactly.
I don't know how to like label it.
Yeah. I think that it's me telling you what's best for you as opposed to you realizing it yourself. That Jeremy Minor acts more as a counselor, and he's asking you questions that way you realize it in yourself. Andy, which he does really well. That's why like leaders and salespeople, they're very similar in different things, but like they have a lot of similarities because what Andy does is he casts a vision for you. Hey, dude, your life could be this, this, and this. Here's where we're going. Dude, I can see this for you. Why, like, you really want to stay where you're at right now? Come on, man. Like, I want to see you step up, which is what he does to you, which is why you like him, and you see him do it to other people because he cares about them. Yeah. And so, again, I have both sides of me where I can see, I mean, you've given me a lot of advice. And so you have that dominant personality too, where you're like, dude, here's what you should do. Here's what I think will be best for you. And then you're projecting that, and you want the best for them, and people can feel that, and you're projecting it. But imagine if you're like, well, where do you want to go next? Why do you want to go there? What would happen if you didn't do this? And then that would make me realize it, and it's less confrontational. Whenever somebody else is pushing like their ideas on you, you automatically get defensive about it. And by you, I mean me and all of us as humans, everyone. We get more defensive.
Even my wife, I'm like, you need to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, damn. But it goes back to leadership because so I've worked with Ryan since 2020, something like that. One thing Ryan has never told me to do something. He's never, and I used to, and people would be like, oh, how's it working for Ryan? I'm like, I don't feel like I work for Ryan because he has never said, hey, get on the phones and make more sales. Right. It's like, hey, the goal this month is 200K.
How are we going to get there?
Yeah. No, he just tells me the goal. Oh. And I'm like, okay, well, damn, how am I going to do this? Like, he let me do me. And that's why we were able to work together for so long and have the relationship we have, because he never tried to force me or like, come on, because I don't respond to that. Right. So I would be like, nah, I'm good. So with some people you can do that. With some people you have to do the Jeremy Minor, like, well, and then some people you almost have to lead them like Jesus, where you just tell them a parable and let them figure it out. Yeah.
And I mix all of it. I think stories are important. Like, Jesus told a lot of parables, a lot of stories. I think that's important. I also think it's important to ask questions in order to find out where they want to go. And I think it's important to push them to do that freaking thing, because you hear where they're at, you hear where they want to go, and you can see the resistance that's stopping them from getting there. Yeah. And then you can be like, hey, look, I know you're scared. Let's go ahead and do it anyway, because you've been scared now for 2 years. Let's go ahead and move forward, because you do not want to stay where you're at. And so my belief in what's best for them is going to push them to that based on what they said before. And so then I feel okay with pushing somebody, because I'm not pushing my idea on you. I'm pushing your idea and holding you accountable to it. Yeah. And so it's just an interesting balance between leadership, accountability, sales, all of it. Like, it all goes into play where you have to ask questions. You got to hold them accountable. You have to push them to make the decision, because otherwise they're going to stay where they're at. It all ties in together. And I didn't realize the similarities between leadership and salespeople. And Andy Elliott's actually the one who said something. He's like, dude, salespeople are leaders, and I didn't realize that. They're leading them to a certain outcome. And then whenever, Ryan is a great salesperson, dude. Yeah. He was a great salesperson before he's ever a leader. And I didn't realize that they're so similar.
Yeah, I think what the idea that I just got in my head, right, is because you said belief. Mm-hmm. So something I got to do after this podcast, I got to go buy all my sales guys swag and get them more bought into Rocket Cash Offer and why we're the best. Yeah. Because if people have the belief, that helps them sell more. 100%. Not I'm just out here chasing commission checks. If I'm like, dude, when I used to be on the phones for Future Flipper, I genuinely believed I could change people's lives. Yep. And I've seen it with you, with Zasha, with Clint, it goes on. There's a kid, Donovan, that made, I don't know, he has the guy with the McLaren. Yeah. 21 years old. I remember signing him up at WealthCon, dude, I know you could do it. And he's like, all right, F it, I'm going to do it. So I have the belief in my coaching. Yep. So that's why I could push.
100%.
And I need my salespeople to have that same mindset with when we're trying to buy someone's house, that we are truly the best, because then they are more likely to push rather than to just whatever, it is what it is.
There's so much to that. I think that you have to actually be the best then, and that has to be the standard. Why are you the best? Because we're going to treat them the best. We're going to do this. What are you going to do that's different from other people? And then hold them accountable to that. Hey guys, this is how we're going to treat people. We're going to treat them with the best love. So while we might not give them the most money, they're going to be in the best transaction they've ever had, because it's going to be the smoothest, easiest, most loving people they've ever worked with. So one, you have to do that. And then it's so funny that you mentioned that, because I was actually upstairs with the guys who are selling Wealthy and stuff. And then I was getting on the call, and I was just talking to this lady who was a contractor. Her name was Lisa. I still remember. It's funny. Anyway. Yeah. It was I was explaining to them, the best thing that you guys could do is remind yourself of those people who were like me, who were like Clint, who were like Zasha. Write down the story. Write down my story. I was a car salesperson, now running a company of 20 people. Went from making $100,000 a year to well over $1 million. And so that came from this program. And it's like, it's not a joke when I'm saying that. Like, I would not be where I'm at if it was not for this program, for not meeting Ryan. That is a fact. Now, it's kind of like a gym membership where not everybody's going to have that, but they have the opportunity to. And so are you going to hold somebody back from their potential future because you don't think that it might not work out for them? No, if you think there's even a slight possibility, it should be your obligation to sign them up. And so that belief needs to be so heavy in there that like you feel convicted. Conviction is what sells. When I'm convicted that this is the right choice for you because you're telling me where you want to go and I know that I have a path to get there. Is it guaranteed? No, but there's a higher probability you're going to get there joining this program than if you stay doing what you're doing. And so that's what I look at, and that's what I'm trying to explain to them is like, write down these stories and then tell the stories just like Jesus did. Jesus told the parable. Hey, I actually have a guy, that was in a similar position as you, and then here's where he was, here's what he was struggling with, here's where he wanted to go, and then here's where he's at today.
But how do you do that for real estate?
Okay, so for real estate, for me, I don't go just based on my company. Like, I'm not just like, oh, we're the best company or anything. Do I think we're I don't even know if I think we're the best. Am I striving to be the best? Absolutely. For me, it's listening to what they want and then knowing that I have the right solution for them.
No, I'm talking about how do you build that in your salespeople?
The belief?
Conviction. Yeah, the belief and the conviction.
Yeah, the belief and the conviction, again, usually comes from those same stories from them. So what I used to do was read the reviews out loud. And then so I'd go into our company and I'd read the reviews of people that left us. Hey, this person was in this situation. She was in foreclosure. She had this debt. We ended up closing on her property, sold it. Look at this review she just left us. She talked about how happy she was.
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, so yeah, I read them out loud. And then also I would remind people that we're not like everybody else. We will actually negotiate debtors for people. So like I've had some where like people owed 100,000, we're buying it for 80. I'll call the lawyers and start negotiating their debt for them in order to where they actually make money sometimes at the end of it. Nobody's doing that. And so I remind them that we're different and we're going to do what's best for the client. And that gives them more certainty that, hey, dude, we're going to do the right thing. We are ethical people. We are good people who are doing what's best for these people when they say that they want this. That comes with actually asking the right questions too. And you're not pushing somebody to do something that they don't want to do, because otherwise you will start to feel that. And then people are like, oh, should I do this? Should I not? No, like we know that we're helping people because we're seeing the results. Now, this is where it gets interesting though, because you have some people that they say they want it in the moment, and then they try to back out a couple weeks later because they got a higher offer. Now there's a sense of like being the best, giving them what they want, and accountability. And so that's why I say sales is so similar to leadership, because I'm also going to hold them accountable to what they signed, the same way that they're going to hold me accountable to it. Hey, we signed a contract. And so now I'm going to do what I said I was going to do in that contract, and I'm expecting you to do the same. If not, then we're going to have to get some other people involved, which we don't want to do, but that's what we can do. And so it gives them certainty that also we're going to fulfill what we said we're going to do, which is integrity, which is why I said it's very important to set the proper expectations. Because if you keep telling somebody, let's go back to that role play that me and you did.
Yeah.
If you tell somebody, yeah, I'm going to go to Egypt and I'm like super excited and all this stuff, and then hey, sorry, we can't actually buy it. They back out. You just lost. You lost credibility in your salesperson's mind, because you didn't give that person what they said they're going to do. Now, if you set the expectation up front, hey, give me 2 weeks, let me send some partners through, and they have to go have that same conversation, now they have more certainty because they did exactly what they said they're going to do, and they don't have to have bad, hard conversations where they were not in integrity with their word.
Yeah.
And so that's where, in my opinion, it's all built, is like doing what you say you're going to do, having the client have a good experience, and you telling them exactly how it's going to go up front. And then, reading the clients, what was their experience afterwards. And like most people, for us, I would say, I think it's like 85% have a good experience. The 15% try to back out, got a higher offer, and we're like, no. And then they get all pissed off. And it's like, I'm just staying in integrity with my word on what we agreed to. So if you want to be upset about that, that's okay.
Yeah, I think that was so good. I think this is like a therapy session for me where I'm like, okay, like I know the things that I need to go work on with my team. What else? Okay, so you've hired salespeople that haven't worked, and then you've hired some salespeople that turn into freaking monsters.
Yeah.
What do you think were the difference, and like what did you do wrong, in the hiring process and training process? And what do you just do wrong in general?
What do I do wrong?
What do you do wrong every day? I'm joking.
Oh man, I do. I do a lot wrong.
So what'd you do wrong in hiring and in training?
That's such a tough one. Now, I'm not the one directly training the people, which makes it a little bit more difficult. I do sales training every week, so I do it once a week. And then most of the time, they're kind of learning from Andrew or from other people. And so sometimes when you're getting information not from the source, it kind of gets trickled down or watered down a little bit. Yeah. So that's been one thing that I've learned is like they got to continue to come back and we got to train with directly from me because Andrew got as good as he is from learning directly from me. He does things differently than I do, which is fine. Everybody has their own flavor, but he's going to train people different than I would. And I want them to learn from me. Then they get their own flavor. Not, okay, I trained Andrew. He's 90% like me. And then he trains them and now they're 50%. But if they learn directly from me, maybe they'd be 75. Like I'd rather train them directly. So that's been one thing that's important for me. And the other one is role playing, listening to the calls, making sure they're actually using the stuff. Because there's this guy who pissed me off so much. I thought he was doing great because I heard Andrew and all them. They're like, yeah, he's doing good. He's bringing us leads and all this stuff. One time I was just back there listening to his call. And I was like, what was that? He had ChatGPT pulled up, asking ChatGPT to overcome whatever objection they're saying. And I'm like, bro, you got a script that took me 6 years to freaking write, and you're not even using it at all. Like literally not even a little bit. You're asking Chat GPT. I'm like, if I ever see that again, you're fired. I'm like, that is bullcrap. It pissed me off because he's been with us for like 3 months. And to me, it's almost like an ego thing for them. And maybe it's ego for me. I don't really care, honestly. I think it's just like, dude, I've made a lot of money in sales. And so by you never doing this before and 3 months in, you think you know better and you're not going to just follow the freaking script.
Yeah.
Like you must think that you're really smart, but like how much money have you made? You've not made any money from this. So please, please, please listen to me, listen to my script. If you think it's better, great. Or you think you know something better, great. Do it after you practice this one. Mm-hmm. So anyway, my biggest mistake was letting other people like think that it's going well without even going back and checking at all. I didn't check at all. I was like, oh, Andrew knows. Oh, they know. And then it's funny because Andrew got frustrated one time. He's like, bro, he's not following the script. He's not doing this. I'm like, I'm thinking maybe it's Andrew who's just like too high expectations. And I'm like, bro, you got to let him, do it, fail a little bit. And I gave Andrew bad advice because I didn't know what the guy was saying. Then once I heard him, I was just as mad as Andrew was. Once I heard the guy, I was like, bro, I'm just as pissed as you. I'm like, no, you're fired. So that's been the biggest thing is like not listening or, going back on what they're actually saying to the people.
Yeah. So what I've learned, like when you start to scale, where there's like managers and there's like different levels of team members. I learned this from Wealthy Investor. Even this just happened with Rocket Cash Offer with Justin and like the salespeople. I'm like, dude, we should be getting a deal a week, and now we're not. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, it's the marketing. It's the marketing. I'm like,
that's what they always say.
I'm like, dude, it's not the freaking marketing. The marketing didn't change. It's been the same exact damn marketing this whole time, and all of a sudden, one guy leaves, and we replace him with another guy, and now we're getting half the deals, and you think it's the marketing.
Yep.
So just because this is another banger line, okay? Just because you delegate the responsibility, that doesn't mean that you are delegating the outcome. I got to figure out a better way to say that. But just because you delegate it to someone else, just because you delegate the responsibility, it doesn't mean you delegate your responsibility. Anyways, when you delegate to someone, just because they're in charge of it now does not make me not responsible anymore.
Yeah, you have to inspect it.
Yeah, so what I used to do is I delegate it to you, and if it went well, I'm blaming it on you. But really, it's still my fault. It's still up to me. It still just affects me anyways.
Right.
So now I can't be pissed at you. I got to be pissed at me because I didn't hold you accountable enough, and you didn't hold them accountable enough. So it's just, I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
This happened with sales and marketing so many times already in different organizations where I'm like, what the hell? We found leads that no one's calling. Mm. Oh, well, I didn't know. And I'm like, it's my fault. I
Yep.
didn't check.
Dude, I did that same exact thing. And so I did it with tasks. And so I went into the leads. This was probably about 6 months ago. And I'm like, dude, I've been training these sales guys now for 3 years. They were not using the tasks, which means like set up for the phone call for that day specifically based on the last conversation. They were just going in, clicking in leads, random leads and they got 400 leads and they're just randomly clicking. I'm like, guys, that will never, ever, ever work. You have to use tasks. I was the best car salesperson, not because I was the top closer, like the most skilled. It was because of my follow-up. I just said, hey, if I had a conversation, I got them furthest to the step and then I couldn't get them to go, I'd get next steps then. Okay, when do you have to make a decision? When are you doing this? Like, when is this? And I'd set a task for that day. I found out our acquisitions guys were not using the tasks at all. And I had no idea for years.
And whose fault is that?
That's mine.
Exactly,
I'm like, dude, what the frick am I was like, what am I doing? How did I assume that you guys knew this?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's all my responsibility in the training, in the onboarding, and like all of the stuff and the checking, making sure they're actually doing it. I'm just teaching them what to say. I'm not teaching or like seeing how they're doing it, which is important.
I guess I'm trying to come up with a line, but I guess it's like just because you delegate the task, that doesn't mean you're not responsible anymore.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
How could I say this? Let's try to come up with a. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah. 100%. I don't know. I always hear inspect what you expect. Just because you delegate the task does not relieve you from the responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's good. Just because you delegate the task does not relieve you from the responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've done over the last few years. It's like, but I told them, and then I'm like talking around like, dude, I specifically told him to do this, and he just still didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's still my fault as
Yeah.
a leader of an organization. It doesn't matter. Like.
Yep. And the question is that I've been asking now, especially working with Sharper and everything, is okay, what measurement would we measure that by, and how would we know if it's working or not working? And so then you have to know, what are you being held accountable to? So when you tell somebody to do something, okay, what are you now being held accountable to do? And what would be the indication that you're doing that or not doing that?
Yeah.
And so that's what we're working on, is that way, like, if you are so in the details, because that's the hardest part, is like, you got to be up here, you got to delegate, and you can't be in all the details, but also you need to know if it's working or not, right? And so what's the measurement of how you're going to do all of this stuff? And that's what I'm still working on and figuring out, but I think we're getting closer now, because it's hard, because I want to get in the nitty gritty details because I think they matter. And I hear Grant Cardone talk about that. Sometimes he'll go in, he's like, this doesn't look right, this doesn't do this. And he does get into the details sometimes, but also he's got people who are over that, who are managing all of it. And so it's like finding that balance of, what's the indicators it's going well, not going well? How would we know what the actual problem is whenever we see that it's not going well? And if the manager doesn't know, then it is your responsibility, because at the end of the day, you're responsible for 100% of all of it, because if something's not working, you have to fix it.
Yeah. What KPIs do you hold your salespeople to?
So now we are holding them to virtual contract sent, virtual contract signed, in-person contracts made, in-person contracts signed, how many calls, how many texts did they make that day, and then how many number of incomplete tasks that they have. Like I said, that task is so important. So I'm actually thinking about how many did you start off with, and then how many did you end with, because that task is so important. Like, I don't think people understand how important tasks are, because when you have a conversation with 50 people in a week, and then somebody says, hey, I cannot make a decision because I have a lawyer, or whatever valid reason that you can't overcome in that moment, and you do not set a task for that the next week, how likely are you to click in that lead at the right time when you're supposed to call them?
Yeah.
Not very likely.
Just by luck.
But yeah, it's so unlikely. But if you have a task that you're going to follow up with them on that specific day at that time, how much more likely now are they to answer your call and actually have a conversation with you? More likely. And then now that you're doing what you said you're going to do, how much more likely are they about to do business with you? Because, hey, I'm going to call you next week on Monday, and then you actually do, because 99% of salespeople will not follow up when they said they were going to follow up.
Yeah.
So if you just start doing that stuff right up front, like, the client already feels different about your company. They're like, I know this person's going to follow through with what they said they're going to do. I followed up with people in car sales for 2 years straight. They freaking loved me. before they ever met me, because I kept doing what I said I was going to do and following up when I said I was going to follow up. They felt obligated to go with me. Now, again, I'm not saying that I wasted a lot of time, because I only called them when they said I was going to. I wasn't just like blowing them up. Well, actually, I did blow them up, even though if somebody doesn't answer, I will just go crazy. Like we always said, you call a lead until they die or they already bought somewhere else and you know it. So same thing for houses. If on the deed, like it still says they own it, we're calling them until they answer. That's your job. So anyway, you can set them up on drips. Like, dude, like I said, I got that Andy Elliott in me still. Where like I'm gonna go hard. I'll set up drip campaigns and go automatic. But if they didn't sell and they filled out a lead that said they wanted to sell, at some point they're going to sell. Yeah. So anyway, those are the KPIs that we track. Is those. So
how many dials and texts do you want a day?
So for us, we're probably, I mean, honestly, it's probably right around 50, like 50 texts, 50 calls. And these are not like cold calling. So I want to be very clear about that. These are leads. And so they're calling about 50 people and texting about 50 people a day.
How many leads does it take you guys to convert? And do you track each person, how many leads it takes for them to convert?
That'd be a good one to track. We do not track that right now. I would say it depends on the lead source too. I mean, TV ads are probably like 1 in every 5, or it's pretty high.
What about PPC?
PPC, I'm gonna guess probably 1 in 10, 1 to 12.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
What about Facebook leads?
Oh shoot. So we're getting about, let's just say 100 leads a month, and we're probably closing 10. So about the same.
1 out of 10.
Yeah.
How much are you spending right now on Facebook?
It varies every month, and so it's somewhere between like 7 and 10.
No, that's not a lot.
No.
And you're getting 100 leads?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Does that math add up?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I didn't do that. I'm just freaking going based on what I know, buddy.
Let's go, pal.
Sorry, buddy.
Hey, while we're looking up these KPIs, if you're still here and you haven't subscribed, what are you doing? You should be ashamed of yourself. Go subscribe, and then after this video's over, go back and watch our last one, because we did go into sales, marketing, and operations on his business. But today, we're probably not going to be able to get some marketing and operations. But
that does make sense, because our average cost is around $100 per lead on Facebook leads, and then if we're getting 100 leads a month, that's around $10,000.
Okay.
So that's about right. And the 7 to 10, there's 7 to 10 actually on the ads, and then with Lead Kitchen, then we pay the $3,000 retainer.
Okay.
And so that's what I mean, like 7 to 10. So it's probably more like 7 to 13 is realistically, if you're including the retainer cost.
Got it. Okay. So let's talk about you want 50 dials. How many texts?
Like 50. I mean, it's fine. I mean, for us, we set everything up on drips and automatic. But I mean, the way that I look at it, like I go into a lead, I'm going to hit them every which way, because you're already in that lead. So for me, I'm going to call them, I'm going to text them, I'm going to email them, I'm going to add them on Facebook, I'm going to try to message them on there. Like I go crazy, dude. God. Like seriously, like I want to, if I'm already in there, I might as well just do everything that I can to try to get a hold of them any way that they would want. Also double dial. I call them twice. And then if they don't answer, I put them on a drip campaign that's an automatic follow-up. That means if I somehow forget, which is rare, but it can happen, I'm going to put them on a drip that'll automatically follow up with them. And I'm going to set the next task. If they didn't answer and it's a brand new lead, I'm going to hit them every single day for 5 days straight. If it's been in there over a week, then I might go every other day. If it's a Monday, I might, choose a Wednesday or Thursday that I'm going to follow back up with them. But I'm going to continue to hit them until I get a hold of them. And I do it every single time. And so that's what I do. And so realistically, it's about 50.
50, okay. And then what about offers to contracts? What KPIs are you looking for those?
I don't have that. I don't have that all tracked. We're still we just started doing that. And so we're probably like 80% if I had to guess.
Yeah. What about your contract to close? Like if you get 100 contracts, how many do they close?
Oh, shoot. We're very high.
Because you're making sure you get them. Yeah. Or setting the right expectations.
Yeah, and we're pretty strategic. Now, it's going down a little bit, I'll say that. So we were probably before, I would say we were at like 90, 95%. The only way that it did not work out was if there was like liens on the title and we could not get the thing to move and nobody can buy it. That's the only way, or they owe more than what they can. That was usually the only way. Yeah. Or like 1 or 2 would fall through a month. Yeah. Now with novations and with new areas, because we're going into way more areas. We're going into Indianapolis. We're going into like these Muncie, Elkhart. We're going into new areas that we don't know as well. I would say we're probably fall through rate is probably up to like 20% now.
Oh, okay. That's still not that bad.
That's high for us, but yeah, it's not that bad on average, but it feels very, very weird for us.
What is like, okay, before I get to the last segment, the people that failed, the acquisition people that failed, why did they fail? That worked for you? Because I feel like they had the training, they had the leads, you know, where was the mistakes? Because then when I asked you what were the mistakes when you hired and trained, you said it was like, oh, when I delegated it. But like in the beginning, when you were hiring and you were the trainer,
I mean, the biggest thing was one, lack of desire. And then if they start blaming other things and other reasons of why they're not doing well, before I'd be like, oh, it was basically almost an insecurity in myself because I didn't know what I didn't know, right? Yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm a good trainer. I don't know if I'm a good leader. Yeah. So it's like, it's almost an uncertainty where I'm like, maybe it's me. Yeah. Maybe I'm not giving them everything they need. Whereas now I'm like, no, I got some mother frickers that are making a couple $100,000 a year, so I know it ain't me.
Holy flippity flop.
Yeah, I know it's you now, right? And so in the beginning, it was like not knowing, and then whenever somebody wasn't doing well, what I wanted to do was help more. Oh, maybe they need this, maybe they need that, maybe they need to come alongside of me. And no, they just sucked. They didn't have the desire. Now, do I believe that they could have developed it? Yes. I believe that anybody can develop sales skills. I think that some people are going to take way longer than others, and it's probably not even worth it for them to try. They'll go make more money doing something else. Like even engineers, like they could learn it. Now, again, I think that it's going to be harder for them, so don't waste your time doing it if like you see it. But the other side of it is the people would not listen, and they thought they knew better, and so they would keep trying to do what they normally do, and then they don't actually do what I'm saying or do the script. And what happens whenever you get into a sales scenario is that you go into your automatic mode, basically. And these guys' automatic mode was not very good. So what you have to do is get yourself trained out of that automation, out of that automatic thing that you normally do, because you're going to get triggered. You're going to go into this fight or flight mode, and then you're going to start saying what you normally say. And these guys would not learn how to get out of that. They would just continue to do it, and then they'd blame the leads, they'd blame me, they'd blame they blame some bull crap. Yeah. And then I'm like, yeah. And then in the beginning I just thought that it was my responsibility to make it work. Yeah. And now I'm just like, no, hey, you either get now, honestly, with the lead flow that we have, if you're not doing a minimum of 5 deals a month, I don't even want you around. So if you can't close 5 deals a month, there's no point of you staying with us.
Yeah, I think one of my core values in the company is extreme ownership, because I freaking hate when people like, oh, but this, but that, but that. It's just that's literally the number one thing that I just can't stand.
Me too.
But
especially, well, one thing I want to say about that is, especially as a salesperson. As a salesperson, it's all your responsibility. It's all your fault. You're basically a business owner. When you're an acquisitions person, in my opinion, you're an owner inside of an owner's box. And so when I worked at the dealership, I took full responsibility for everything. If I wasn't selling, it was not the dealership's fault. It wasn't because there wasn't lot traffic. It wasn't because when you get into that mindset, you're creating your future. So I remember in the wintertime, a lot of people would be like, oh, cars don't sell in the wintertime. Nobody comes in. You know what happens? You stay inside. Whenever you see a car come in, you don't go chase after it because you're like, oh, nobody buys in the winter. Now you want to stay in your comfort. You want to stay freaking warm. When instead of like, no, I'm going to win no matter what. I don't care how many there is. If there's only 100 people coming in or whatever, I'm going to make it happen. And that's the kind of mentality that is like Andy Elliott and that I want. And so while there's different things that are going on, maybe it does slow down in the winter statistically, I don't care. I'm going to win and I'm going to do well, even if the dealership isn't doing well. And this is a quote that I really liked, is people create their own economy in their head. And so in my economy in my head is I'm going to win. And I would sell the most amount of cars in the wintertime. You know why? Because everybody else was in that same mentality that, oh, nobody sells them. And then guess what? I was out there freaking slinging them because I don't care what time it is. I'm going to freaking sell cars. So anyway.
I was going to say, so what did you do wrong in the hiring process with those people? And like, does that still happen sometimes?
I mean, my hiring process, I told you this, my hiring process for sales guys is more sink or swim. And so the way the dealership did it was they would bring on 15 people and then they put them through training. 10 of them would drop out even before training's done. And then 5 of them would go through. One of them's going to make it maybe for a year. And I'm kind of in a similar mentality. I don't bring on that many people at the same time, but I'm more in that mentality where I don't know who this good salesperson is going to be. So I'm going to bring them on. I'm going to set the expectations. I'm going to give them the training, and they're either going to sink or swim, and that's it. And so for me, that's always been my mentality. It was just before it was a lack of certainty in that's the way to do it. Now I feel very, very confident. And then that's the way that if you're not working out, I will just be like, hey, dude, sorry, it's not working out. But again, I now know that I've given everything that I could, like training, feedback, all this stuff. And then if the person's not receptive, I know without a doubt that it's just not it. And I feel more comfortable and confident in doing that, whereas before I didn't. So yeah, I would say that before in hiring, it wasn't the hiring that was the problem. It was the not firing fast enough based on their receptibility of it. Because Andrew, dude, a good salesperson, you're going to bring in and you're going to know right away. Like, I sold 16 cars my first month in car sales. I was a landscaper. I was 20 years old, and everybody's like, nobody's going to want to buy a car from you because, you're 20, you don't know anything. Same thing with Andrew. He's 18, telling people we're going to pay cash for your property and signing contracts. 18 years old. He was shy. He talked a lot. Like, dude, he talked so much. Yeah. And I'm like, bro.
The other day he was talking so much. I wanted to be like, dude, like, slow down. First of all, like, slow down and listen to the call. Cause I was trying to have him do a call recording, and he talked for like 3 minutes straight. I'm like, there's no way you heard the call.
Yeah, but he can pinpoint out in different scenarios.
He could. He just got to work on his delivery.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, he did that with me whenever I first hired him. But again, what I'm saying is nobody would have known that he was a salesperson based on an interview, based on, like, this whole, how are you going to know? But, like, when you get him in and you throw him in, you're going to find out real quick if this person's a salesperson or not. I was not a closer. Now, they're not going to be automatic closers. So I want to be very clear about that. But they're going to be able to get through the process. They're going to be grinders. They're going to be bringing you a ton of freaking deals that are right there closable that they might not be able to close right away because they don't have the skills. But their desire, their calls, they should be generating some stuff that's making you have to do your job more. Yeah. That's when you know you got the right freaking guy. Yeah. Like, because I was that guy. Andrew was that guy. Like, anybody that I've seen that's been a good salesperson you're that guy. Yeah. Like, you go out and you make stuff happen to where, like, you're going to stir some stuff up.
I call it shaking the tree.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're going to make stuff happen. And so you'll know if somebody's like that or not. If they're more passive and that, they can be okay salespeople. Like, you got some mid salespeople, you have top salespeople. The top salespeople are going to be the ones who are aggressive. The mid salespeople are the ones who are highly skilled. And then they kind of wait for stuff to,
that's funny.
Wait for stuff to come to them. But those are not going to be your top guys. Like Andrew, the funniest part is Andrew is like he doesn't get the biggest spreads. There's another guy, Luis, that gets a bigger spreads usually than what Andrew does because of the way, like Luis has got this way of that you just like him, but Andrew's got the freaking grinding that he will always win in in every scenario, in my opinion. And that's the way I was. That's the way you are. That's the way he is. So good salespeople are going to be different than mid salespeople, but then you have just the low performers that just like they have no skills, they think they know everything, and they make excuses of why it's not working. It's no.
I want to tell another analogy, right? Okay. So there's a guy that commented on one of my podcasts. He was like, "You need to shut up and let the guest speak." And da-da-da. I was like, "Dude, you know what, bro?" I bring him up on every podcast. So if you're listening to this, I love you. I'm just a little butthurt. So, but I always say this analogy, right? With salespeople, entrepreneurs, right? There's someone standing and they're in front of a tree. There's a fruit tree, right? There's a couple things you could do. One, you could sit there and just wait. Mm-hmm. You could wait for a fruit to fall, and then that's the fruit you get.
Yep.
And then you could get a skill of maybe getting like a freaking bow and arrow or a slingshot, and then you get good at that, and then you could hit one at a time. And then you have the psychos that will walk up to the tree and just shake the freaking tree, right? Yeah. That's me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, bro, I'm going to make a mess. I'm going to get some contracts that can't sell. I'm going to freaking show up at people's houses. I'm going to sit in these long-ass meetings, and I'm going to just shake the crap out of the tree. I'm going to get a whole bunch of fruit. Some of them are going to be damaged. Some of them are going to be good. But I'm just going to win with activity. Yeah. And that's what you were just talking about. Yeah. And the winners are the crazy people that are like, oh, I'm going to shake the tree, or I'm going to just climb up there and just freaking shake the branch. And then, but yeah, there's different types of salespeople. Andrew left and then came back.
Yep.
So what happens with a lot of organizations is whenever a salesperson starts to make a lot of money, and I'm not saying this what happened with Andrew, I'm just saying in general, because this happened with us. They start making a lot of money, their ego goes up. They're like, I don't need this. I could do this anywhere else. And they leave. Or they butt heads with management and they leave. Or their work ethics goes down and they're like, I don't want to be in the meetings. I don't want to show up. I don't want to help train, whatever. And then they bounce. So like, how do you keep good salespeople? And can you share what happened with Andrew? I don't know if that's too personal.
No, 100%. I'll share it, dude. I'll share this too. That happened with me.
It happened. What I'm saying, anything I ever say on this podcast is never theory. It's never what I've heard. It's literally, I've seen it with Wealthy Investor. I've seen it. When I made my most money with those 2 acquisition people, guess what they did?
Left.
They left. They went and started their own thing. And that's part of life. Like it's not the end of the road. I've had great salespeople at Wealthy Investor where they literally are like, hey, I don't want to show up to the sales meeting anymore. And I'm like, what? And they're like, no, I feel like I'm good. They're dragging me down. So that is the process of running an organization.
100%. Yeah. So, man, there's so many different thoughts that go into that. So one is it's very rare to find somebody with high skill and low ego. And that's what it takes to be a really good salesperson. And it's so difficult because the more skills you get, usually the higher your ego goes. That's going to be in a roller coaster. And so you've experienced that. I've experienced that. Andrew's experienced that. And so I understand it, and I don't hold anything against them. But I remember when I was in the dealership and I was getting salesperson of the month after month after month after month. And then I got salesperson of the year a couple years in a row. And I'm like, dude, nobody can beat me. I'm untouchable. And also I was doing the right things. Like I wasn't smoking, drinking, partying, all that stuff. And the other guys were. So I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm getting fired. I started thinking I can do whatever the frick I want. And then managers would tell me to do something. I'm like, nah, like I'm good. Because I'm like, dude, what are you guys going to do without me? Right. Yeah. And I started to think that I was bigger than the organization. And then reality came in and I found out I wasn't. And so it's the same thing that I think is that I told Andrew. So Andrew came to me about a year and a half ago. He had a similar conversation. He's like, hey man, all my friends like, why aren't you going to do this by yourself? You can make more money. You could do this. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You probably could make more money doing this by yourself. But is it going to give you the life that you want? Do you want that headache? Do you want the stress? Do you want the stuff? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
And it's not given. Yeah. I could say this for fact. I've had so many people come and go that they're like, I'm going to do this on my own. And they don't realize sales is very important. But as you scale, it is not everything.
Right.
You will turn into a hustler.
Yep.
Running a business takes finances. You have to be, are we spending too much? Are we spending a lot? Are we over leveraged? We have to freaking refinance. There's the marketing. There's the leadership. There's the hiring. There's the admin. It's not just sales.
100%.
So like even you at your car dealership, you're probably like, dude, I'm slinging cars. Yep. Bro, there's the finance department. Are you paying the lease at this dealership? Right. No, bro. Did you buy this building? Have you been here for years and years and years and years and built a reputation?
Yep.
No. So
yeah, there's so much to put into perspective there. But you start to get skills and it's like, bro, guess what happened when I left? A new salesperson of the month came.
Yeah.
It's like the world is so much bigger than whatever you think that you are. And so that really helped me to put it in perspective of like, dude, while I can be great, I'm not that great. And that the company's going to be fine. And so I told Andrew the same thing about a year and a half ago. I said, hey, dude, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to be upset with you. We're going to survive. Because he started to feel like he built LTD in some sense because he was like with us from the beginning, And so he's like, oh, like, I feel like I should get, because people were putting this in his ear, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Other people were talking to him saying, well, you built this and you make them all this money and stuff. And that's what everybody says. And so it's so interesting when we had that conversation. I think that, it helped him. And then it came back a year and a half later, which was about 4 or 5 months ago. And then he's just like, he came into my office. He's like, hey, man, I'm out. And I'm like, I get it. It makes complete sense. And I think it's the only thing that you're going to be able to do to realize this thing that I told you a year and a half ago. You gotta experience it now. And so like, honestly, I care about people. And this is a difference I would say between me and a lot of other entrepreneurs is like, I really, really, really care about my people. And I want the best for them. And so I told him, I'm like, bro, I think it makes sense for you to leave. And here's what I need you to promise me. If you're going to leave and do this stuff, you're going to go to therapy. Like, I need you to go to therapy at least twice a month, because I knew what demons he was struggling through. And I knew, like, I know him well enough to, like, dude, you can go make more money and you could be a multimillionaire, and you're going to end up very unhappy with your life. And like, I'm not the kind of person that just looks at you as like a income producer for me. Like, I care about him like he's like my brother, you know, and that's the way I feel about a lot of my friends. And like, well, I call them friends. They're like my people that work with me, you know? And so it's very difficult for me when they make decisions that I think could lead him down that path, because I think he could make more money by himself. I actually do think Andrew, I think he's got the capability that he could do it. I think he'd be less happy. I think he'd be less fulfilled. I think his life would not be as rich as it is right now with us. And so that's where I think that people choose to stay with us, because of the life that we get to create together.
Yeah.
That they're like, dude, I know that being around Dakota makes me a better person. Being around these people who are in the company that want me to win makes me a better person. It's very rare to be around people who actually want you to win and genuinely want you to win. Like, I don't think that people understand that energy when you get to celebrate your success with other people who are happy when you win. Most of the time, people get very upset and very jealous. And when you go out into the real world and you start making money, everybody's going to be upset with you and very jealous. But when you got that group of people, it's like, dude, I freaking love that you did that. What else can you do? That makes you step up and level up, and honestly, in my opinion, have a happier, more fulfilling life. And so I think that's what Andrew found out when he left, was he has the ability, but some of the emotional reward that you get comes from people cheering you on, being happy for you and stuff. And then like when you're around other people who are doing that all in their different areas and departments, we're building this thing that we're all making each other better, not just monetarily wise, but we're holding each other accountable spiritually. We're holding each other accountable relationship wise. Like, there's another guy that's on the team, Ryan. He's our transaction coordinator. He texts his parents every single day, as actually his dad died just recently. It's pretty brutal for him. But he texted his dad every single day before that and told him that he loved him. And so when we get to hear what other people are doing that's hard, that we know we want to do, and we want to be more of that, and we're holding each other accountable to that, like, man, we just have like a brotherhood that is just unlike any other, in my opinion. And so that's why people stay with us, is not just because they can make the most money. They make good money, but they're living the life and going on the same trajectory that they really want, and their life is getting enriched in a lot of different areas. So that's the reason why I think that people stay.
Yeah, and I think Andrew's like a freaking beast, and I think he's super young. And my advice to Andrew is, like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, by the time he's our age, he's going to be way richer than both of us.
1,000%.
But it's like, you should, not just him, but just in general, you never want to leave your mentors too soon, because I feel like there was plenty of times where when I was working with Ryan, everyone's like, dude, you do everything. You're the one coaching. You're the one doing this. You're the one doing that. Well, how much does he get paid? And how much do you get paid?
Yep.
And I was just like, dude, if money was like the only thing that mattered, then yeah, I would leave.
Right.
But it wasn't.
Yeah.
I want the growth. I want all that wisdom and like the expediting of learning. I wanted that more than I just want to go off and do my own thing and start my own coaching program and just all that crap.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't what I wanted. And I think most people understand that, like, community at the end of the day is more important. When you die, you're going to be like, dude, you know, those nights hanging out with my friends or this or that is what you're going to remember. You're not going to be like, dude, I made $60K and then I made $100K.
Yep.
I made that $100K, but I lost almost everything, but I made $100K, you know? So
yeah, I'll say like the other part about that though too is like there has to be a balance in some sense, because like, you know, very similar to me and my partnership, where it's been like with a good friend, and those were the kind of stuff that I was saying in order to justify it, but then the resentment started to build. And so you have to be real with yourself too, where like if Andrew starts to feel like I'm not providing enough value that makes sense for him, he needs to be real about that and leave. And so that's okay too. I'm not going to be mad at him.
Or restructure the relationship.
Exactly.
Like, say, hey,
have the conversation.
You know what? We're going to partner up and we're going to take over, I don't know, Ohio.
Yep.
You're the Ohio guy. We're going to restructure it. And but don't leave too early, and don't be afraid to have those conversations, because what happens is, like, when you the more time that conversation should happen to when it happens, the longer it gets, almost the worse it's going to be. Because then when you start yapping what you've been wanting to say,
Right.
it comes out.
It's worse.
Yeah, it comes out bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, like, especially in this employer, or like just partnerships in general, because like you're more of a partner with Ryan. If you start to feel, if you start to feel like it is unfair and anything, just have that conversation and then say, how are you going to provide more value, or what do you feel? And then it's either going to work or it's not. But at the end of the day, like, you want to at least say, let them know how you're feeling. So if Andrew came to me 5 years from now, bro, he's gonna be a beast. I mean, the trajectory that he's on, like you say, he's gonna be way wealthier, dude. He's gonna be a millionaire probably within the next couple months. So he's on a way different trajectory. And I'm like, dude, what else can we do together in the future? And if he wanted to, be responsible for more responsibility, I'll give you more piece of the pie. But you got to take on more responsibility. Now, if you're gonna stay in your current role and you ask me for more, we might have an issue. But if you want it to look different, I'm open to that. I'm open to partnerships, and I'm open to giving up stuff as long as it makes sense for both of us.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're going to have all your information in the description of this video. But for the people listening to this on Apple and Spotify, if they want to find you, where do they go?
Instagram is dakotabailey.in for Indiana, because Brian said I'm the king of Indiana, or soon to be.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening to and watching the Wealthy Investor Podcast, the #1 podcast for flippers, wholesalers, and real estate entrepreneurs. My name is Brian Davila. Subscribe. Peace.